Hello, I'm Bill Bullard with RCAF USA, the voice of the independent cattle producer in the United States of America. Well, it's really rather simple. If a supply shortage causes prices for input supplies for a given commodity to increase, and the demand for that commodity remains strong, then the price paid for that commodity is likely to increase. And this is what the commodity supply chain is expected to do to recover all or part of the increased input costs while still maintaining the commodity's profitability. And that's how a competitive market would work, and why economists would defend such a market reaction as consistent with marketplace fundamentals. So let's take crude oil, for example. As the Ukraine invasion sparks fear of oil shortages, the price of crude oil increases, as it has by recently soaring above $100 per barrel. Now, oil is the input supply for gas, and now we see gas prices surging, with some analysts predicting it will reach $5 per gallon. Now, we may not like this, but we understand that this is how a competitive market works. Tight supplies mean higher input costs, and since the input here, which is crude oil, is a primary ingredient in gas, and everyone buys gas, then gas prices are expected to increase so the supply chain can recover the added costs. So now let's look at another input supply impacted by the Ukraine invasion. That would be cattle feed costs. Because there is fear that supplies of feed grains may become tight, the price of corn is increased. And corn is an input supply for cattle. So applying market fundamentals to cattle, in this case fed cattle, we would expect that cattle prices would increase in order for the supply chain to recover the added input costs associated with higher corn prices. And this would at least be true if the demand for cattle remains strong. Well, few would disagree that all-time record high beef prices are associated with strong demand for beef, which of course is derived from none other than cattle. So if the cattle market functioned competitively like the gas market, then we would fully expect cattle prices to increase so the supply chain could recover the added cost of corn. But that's not what's happened. On Monday, February 28th, following the Ukraine invasion, fed steer prices averaged $142 per hundredweight in Iowa and Minnesota, which was down $2 from the previous week's Iowa-Minnesota average price of $144 per hundredweight. And that occurred even though central corn prices were about $6.51 per bushel right after the invasion, and by Monday they increased to around $6.86 per bushel. And then cattle futures reports indicated on Tuesday that feeder cattle futures are down $16 per hundredweight in 2 weeks. So it appears no one in the cattle supply chain is able to recover their increased input costs associated with tight corn supplies. Now, obviously it's early, and we really need to wait to see if the cattle market soon begins to function according to market fundamentals. Or do we? According to estimates released this week by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the average monthly net margin for feeding cattle in the United States for the last 12 months was a negative $4.36 per hundredweight. That's an average monthly loss of over $56 per head each month for 12 months. And these prolonged and chronic fed cattle losses occurred when consumers were paying all-time record high prices for beef. So the takeaway is this: the cattle market is not responding to market fundamentals as gas markets are. And the cattle market has persistently produced negative cattle feeding returns in the face of record high beef prices. And neither Congress nor the administration has taken any meaningful steps to correct this. And now we have what may soon be coined the cattle industry's fourth black swan event since 2019, where here, fast rising corn prices worsen what is already the worst economic cost price squeeze that U.S. cattle farmers and ranchers have had to face in decades. Yeah, we can wait and see if the cattle market miraculously begins functioning like it was a competitive market, but we'd best not wait long. Otherwise, we will soon forever lose the American cattle farmer and rancher as we know him or her today. Help us not wait. Help us fix this broken cattle market by joining up and supporting the effort to pass Senate Bill 2716, the mandatory country of origin labeling bill that will empower consumers to once again send competitive demand signals to the live cattle supply chain. And then we need to pass Senate Bill 949 that will force the packers to compete for cattle when those competitive demand signals reach them. So please go to our website at www.r-calfusa.com, where you can join up, and then go to label-our-beef.com to learn how you can help implement the marketplace solutions your cattle industry so desperately needs. With that, have a productive week. Thank you and goodbye.